Page labels. This is one of the most important things that you want to accomplish when you're setting up RUM for the first time or even ongoing. What page labels are is a way of segmenting or grouping like types of pages, specific page templates like a home page or a product details page or an article page. This allows you to actually look at your data in a way where you can still segment those types of pages without getting so granular that is really poor user experience when you're trying to navigate through the product, and you're really not necessarily getting really good information from these small buckets of potentially just paths or document title, which is something that we use by default if you don't set page labels. That's the first thing to remember. If you don't do any of this, you're going to get document title, which for a lot of sites means you're going to have a lot of page labels. So it's really something that you want to watch out for. The other reason to add page labels, other than just having a way to more properly segment your data, is that we actually use this in areas of the product when we want to try to correlate our RUM and our synthetic data. For example, if we look at our vitals dashboard and I want to add a label filter, I can say I want to look at blog posts. Now, a couple of things here. First thing that we're seeing is that this number right here is actually from RUM, this 1.38 seconds. And LCP, as you can see, is coming from real user data. However, when we expand this, we can see that we're cross-referencing with synthetic data to give us more actionable insights from that synthetic test that's matched up with that same page label name. So that's the first reason why you really want to do this. Other areas where you would do this would be in our improved dashboard. What we're doing in our improved dashboard is we're giving you an aggregate look at the most important audits that have been run against your site and how they apply to all the synthetic tests that you're running, as well as how they would apply to the RUM page labels that they're associated with. So here, what I'm looking for is if I want to address any of these critical recommendations that are coming across, I can see for this one, it's going to impact about 20% of my synthetic tests, as I see here. But I can also see that for all the RUM traffic that I'm carrying forward, going to have an impact on about 24% of that RUM data. So really important there. The third area is with your favorites dashboards when you want to try to correlate RUM and synthetic data for yourselves. For example, you might want to correlate LCP at the 75th percentile for RUM and look at the number of images or the image size potentially or critical blocking requests that are coming out of your synthetic data and correlate that on a page label. That's why page labels are so important. Now, there's a few different ways you can go about setting page labels. As I mentioned before, and I'll mention again, if you don't do anything, you're going to get document title, which can be, again, quite high cardinality and hard to navigate throughout the product. Or you can use the RUM API, which would then allow you to set this on the page yourself. And this is the one that has precedent. This is the one that if you have this is going to override everything else. Where you're including your snippet potentially on your page, you would put these couple lines of code to assign the page group there. So that's the way you would do this programmatically. The more exciting way that we're talking about today is assigning page label rules based on wildcard patterns that we see in the URL. So I'm going to talk about that next because that's going to be the one that's going to have the next highest precedent. As you can see here, we don't have any page label rules set. So I'm going to go ahead and just say add a page label to get started. I'm going to call this home. And here I put in any URL pattern that I want. A couple things to note. It has to include a slash. So in this case, we're just going to look for the root document here. And we won't look at query strings. So you don't want to put query strings in here. This is just going to be the actual path on the URL itself that you're trying to match on. So I'm going to add that rule. I'm also going to add one that's maybe home PHP, or maybe I want to add something where I'm looking at /star home, something like that. So you can see I've added a few of those rules, and I'm going to go ahead and say save. And now you can see I've got this rule set up. Now, if I want to identify other pages that don't have page labels associated with them, I could go ahead and go in here, and now I can start to see all these pages that do not have an associated rule. So I can look at this and look and say, if I were to set a page label of // my order /star, it'll highlight those URLs that would be, otherwise unrecognized in terms of their page labels. So this is one that you would want to use when you go ahead and set this rule. Now, if you already have the page label group created, you could select from this drop down and simply add it from here into this label rule, if we were to say home, and then add that rule that way. That's how page labels work from the URL matching perspective. And again, as you've got some more of these created, I wanted to say orders and /my order star is another rule, and save that. Now you can actually edit these a little bit in terms of the order that they're going to be selected. So if you had similar rules or rules that were matching on URLs, you want to drag the one that you want to apply first to the top of that list. So that way you can actually catch things before they fall out the bottom there or get reassigned unintentionally. That's how using page label URLs works. The next way that you can assign page labels is simply through the existence of a JavaScript variable. Not an expression, can be an array, but it would just be a JavaScript variable that exists on the page. So if you had something there on your page that we would look for, you could just tell us what it was. We would then go out and grab that and grab the value for that page label that was assigned in JavaScript. That's it. That's all that there is for page labels. Good luck.